Your Excellency, Dr. Kazibwe Wandira, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to our first meeting on Indigenous knowledge systems, based sexual and reproductive health. We are very much overjoyed to have you for our first platform meeting. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Before we begin the proceedings for this moment, I would like us to take a few minutes to introduce ourselves and to get to know each other. May I kindly ask Dr. Mayashri to begin, and then we will move that way.
Morning, everyone. It's Mayashri Chinsami. I am the research manager at the DST NRF Center Indigenous Knowledge Systems, part of your hosting and organizing committee today.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Latoya Newman. I'm from Independent Newspapers.
Wonderful. My name is Yona Seleti. I'm from the Department of Science and Technology in Pretoria.
Good morning. My name is Gail Hughes. I'm a professor at the University of Western Cape and the former director of the South African Herbal Science and Medicine Institute in Cape Town.
Sanibona, igama lami ngusibongile uMakhosi Ntombela, ngiqhamuka kwaNophatha.
Her name is Bongile Ntombela from Nophatha organization. Morning, everyone. My name is Membuso Mapumulo. I'm also from Nophatha organization. I'm a treasurer. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Emilia Howard, and I'm from the organization called the Forum for Former African Heads of States and Government.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ananya Traitip Tamlongcho, General Manager of UBIAT Ethic Institute and visiting professor from American University of Southern Nation.
Good morning, Obestina from IKS in Joburg.
Good morning, my name is Zodwa Masenga from the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
Sanibonani, usindisiwe wakamzila. Ngisoka Traditional Healers Organization, chairperson, a district yaseThekwini.
Her name is Sindisiwe Mzila, Traditional Healers Organization.
Sanibonani, good morning, I'm Nombuso Ndlovu. Ngiqhamuka THO.
Sanibonani, igama lami ngunobongile Kakayo, ngiqhamuka kwi-Traditional Healers Organization, uchairperson we-provincial
Her name is Sindisiwe Mzila. She also comes from the Traditional Healers Organization. She is the chairperson of the province, and she's also a birth attendant, traditional birth attendant.
Sanibonani, untomfile ngubani, ngiqhamuka THO, ngiwi-research.
And traditional Dr. Ntomfigile Ngubane, who's also from the Traditional Healers Organization, and she is responsible for research.
Yes, good morning. I'm Raylene Captain Hasterby. I'm a journalist at the university.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Martha Libster, formerly Associate Dean of Research at the University of Wisconsin in Oshkosh in the United States of America, also the founding director of the Bamboo Bridge Global Tea House.
Morning, everyone. I'm Mama Gomo. I came from National Unitary Professional Association, Traditional Head Practitioners of South Africa. I'm a secretary for KZN. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is John Tesha. I am the Executive Secretary of the Forum for Former African Heads of State and Government. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. My name is Hassan Kaya. I'm the director of the Center in Indigenous Knowledge Systems with its hub at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. I'm the overall organizer of the initiative.
Good morning, Sanibona. My name is Sine Kukutuma. I'm the Dean and Professor in the College of Health Sciences.
Thank you all for the introductions. I think at this point in time, we are going to give Professor Kaya a chance to give us a chance to give us a profile of the center, and thereafter you will introduce Her Excellency. Thank you.
Should I say morning, everybody, again? Your Excellency, Dr. Andira Kazibwe, Professor John Tesha, the Executive Secretary, Forum of the former African Heads of State and Government, Professor Aduma, the Dean of Teaching and Learning, the College of Health Sciences, the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Professor Jonas Seleti, the Chief Director of Science Missions, and also in charge of Indigenous Knowledge Systems Office at the University of the Department of Science and Technology, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My responsibility this morning is to give you a background how we came about with the platform on indigenous knowledge-based sexual and reproductive health care. The promotion of indigenous knowledge-based sexual and reproductive health care is a platform which is also an initiative of the Center in Indigenous Knowledge Systems, together with other partners within and also outside South Africa. We have a number of platforms and initiatives. Oh, we're supposed to.
Sixoliseke lapho uProfessor Kaya uthathe isikhathi wabesethula zonke izihambeli zethu. Ngicabanga ukuthi siyabona lapha ngaphambili amagama abo abaqhamuke eindaweni ezahlukahlukene. Ubesesho ke ukuthi lokhu lenkundla noma lo mhlangano size ngawo namuhla ukuzovula inkundla ngezinto ezobukelela sexual reproduction, ngamanye amazwi ukuthi ngesizulu izobukela ezempilo uma sekufika ekuthenini kule process leyo yokubelethisa, kanjalo futhi nezocansi up until uProfessor echaza ukuthi kwenze kanjani ukuthi lenkundla ikwazi ukuthi ivuleleke.
So as I pointed out, the initiative comes from the Center in Indigenous Knowledge Systems, which is a partnership of 5 institutions, said University of KwaZulu-Natal at the hub, University of South Africa, Northwest University, Venda, and University of Limpopo.
Ama-university ke ayingxenye ye-center awu-5, i-University yaKwaZulu-Natal, i-University yase-Limpopo, i-University yase-Northwest, mese sekuba i-University i-UNISA, University of South Africa.
Yeah, the mandate of the Center in Indigenous Knowledge Systems is to preserve, promote, and protect indigenous knowledge through research, through postgraduate training, knowledge brokerage, networking, service rendering, and above all also community engagement, because we believe that indigenous knowledge is in the community. We can't, this is where our lab is. It's not in institutions of research, but outside there with the Sangoma. That's why I've always saying without our indigenous knowledge holders, we are nothing. And we are there to ensure that their competencies, their knowledge, their commitment to our welfare is also promoted. Yeah.
Okay, umsebenzi we center ubukelela ukuvikela ulwazi lendabuko, ubukela kanjalo nanokusebenzisana kanye nemphakathi, uphinde ubukele nocwaningo oluba khona olwazini lendabuko, ngoba njengoba uprofessional ukuthi umsebenzi awukho umukhuluma ngomsebenzi wendabuko awukho la ema-university but usemphakathini lapho uzinze khona.
There are a number of reasons, or what we call value propositions, why the Center in Indigenous Knowledge Systems took the prerogative of the initiative to promote indigenous knowledge-based sexual and reproductive health care.
Kunezathu ke ukuthi i-center leyo lwazi lendabuko izibona ukuthi kufanelele ukuthi ivule lenkundla ezobukelela ezocansi kanjalo nezokubelethisa ikhona ke lokho angicabanga ukuthi uprofessor ezochaza njengamanje.
Yeah, one reason is the fact that in spite of the fact that a large proportion of our people, especially women, girls, still and children, still depend on our indigenous knowledge systems in terms of healthcare system, but the healthcare system, especially the former part of it, is still dominated by the biomedical practices and value systems.
Ezempilo ke siyazi ukuthi imvamisa ikhungethwe kakhulu ulwazi lasentshonalanga kodwa uthi prof baningi abantu abasasebenzisa ulwazi lesintu kakhulukazi emphakathini kungenxa ke yezathu ezithile asazoyichaza.
Yeah, and also another important aspect why we took the initiative to promote IKS-based healthcare or sexual reproductive healthcare is the holistic character of healthcare system, especially the sexual reproductive healthcare system. It doesn't look at health just as a biological issue, a physical issue. It encompasses the social, cultural, emotional, psychological aspect of healthcare.
Isizathu ke sokuthi bekhethe ukuthi kuvulwe lenkundla nanokuthi kusetshenziswe noma kube khona lo msebenzi ukuthi ngoba ulwazi lesintu alibuki kuphela ekuthenini ukuthi umuntu lapha kanjani kodwa babuka ngisho nanezinto ezenzeke emphakathini ngenzeka kubo izinto zikamoya nanoma ngabe yini into ebe eyinkinga noma engakwazi ukuthi kusize ekuthenini ukuthi ulapheke.
Also another important aspect why a large proportion of our people, especially in the rural areas and marginalized communities, still depend on indigenous knowledge-based healthcare system is because of its accessibility, affordability, and also the cultural acceptability.
Abantu ke emphakathini banezathu ukuthi indaba ulwazi lendabuko besasebenzisa okokuqala litholakala kalula noma ukusebenzisa ukwelapha kwesintu kutholakala kalula okwesibili futhi ukubiza kwakhona ukuthi abantu abaningi bayakwazi ukuthi beke afford noma kubiza kahle kuphinde futhi kube ukuthi emphakathini kuvumelekile akusiyona into exwayekayo.
Also the fact that there is global evidence showing that there is increasing preference for IKS-based preventative and therapeutic medicines because they give a holistic meaning to sexual and reproductive health care.
Sekubonakalile ucwaningo selenzekile emhlabeni wonke jikelele ukuthi abantu abaningi sebeyafisa noma bayasebenzisa kakhulu ulwazi lendabuko ngenxa yokuthi alibuki ukulapha noma indawo yokulapha eyodwa kodwa uma bona bekhuluma ngokwelapha balapha konke ngawe yikho ke abantu abaningi sebekhetha noma sebeprefer ukuthi besebenzise ulwazi lendabuko.
Yeah, and also when I was pointing out about our mandate of preserving, protecting and promoting indigenous knowledge system, one of our main focus areas at the center is traditional medicine, which is also an important part of IKS-based sexual and reproductive health care.
Njengoba bese ngishilo ukuthi i-center leyo lwazi lendabuko ngaphezulu kokuthi ifisa ukuvikela iphinde futhi ithuthukise ulwazi lendabuko kodwa enye into futhi ephinde ibuke ukusetshenziswa kwemithi yesintu noma ukwelapha ngemithi yesintu nakho ke futhi okuyingxenye enkulu ekufikeni kule process le platform lesikhuluma ngayo ekwezo kubelethisa nezocansi.
Also the fact that currently if you look at the healthcare system, is characterized by limited cooperation between African healthcare practitioners and conventional or biomedical healthcare workers, including the pharmaceutical sciences. So they need to explore the risk factors of traditional medicine planned use in sexual healthcare, and this comes only when there is a kind of collaborative complementarity between the two healthcare systems, biomedicine and our indigenous knowledge-based healthcare system.
Kubalekile ukuthi lezi inhlaka ezimbili zisebenzisane laba abelapha ngesintu nalaba abelapha ngokwasentshonalanga ngoba bengakwazi ukuthi behlole ukuphepha kwemithi lesetshenziswayo kuphinde futhi kukwazi ukuthi kubalekelele ukuthi ukusebenzisana kwabo ngakwazi ukuthi kuthuthukise imithi noma kuthuthukise indlela zokwelapha enhlakeni zombili.
Also, to go further is the fact that currently there is a limited discussion between the two healthcare systems on issues of intellectual property and beneficiation, especially to the issue of research and development and commercialization of IKS sexual and reproductive health resources.
Njengamanje into ekhona ukuthi uxoxisana phakathi kwabasentshonalanga kanjani nalabo belapha ngokwesintu akukho ngalendlela ekumele ngabe ikhona uma usubuka indlela zokuthi ulwazi balivikela kanjalo futhi nanokuthi le process esibiza ngo-commercialization ukuthi product yakho igcine isikwazi ukuthi ifinyelele emphakathini noma igcine isikwazi ukuthi ikhiqizwe ngokwenani elingaphezulu ukuthi basebenzisana kanjani kuze leyo nto leyo ikwazi ukuthi yenzeke.
So the question is, what do we expect to achieve out of this gathering today?
Sesobe sesibuka inhloso yethu ukuthi namuhla sihloso ukuthi sithole ini kulomhlangano wethu.
Yeah, one is we need in our discussion to identify how IKS-based sexual reproductive health key thematic areas, operational areas to be established by establishing working groups.
Kungaba khona isifiso sokuthi njengoba abantu bekhona noma abantu ama stakeholders ekhona sikubona ukuthi abantu ama working groups so ngamanye amazwi into o specialize kuyona kufika ukuthi njengoba mhlambe sikumhlangano mase sekuyahlukanisa ukuthi laba ba specialize endaweni enoma ezithize kube izona esihlukaniswa mase seyibizwa ngalento esithi ama working group iwona ke lawo athi prof kungaba kuhle ukuthi eqale noma esungulwe namhlanje.
Out of the discussions today, we want to establish an IKS-based sexual reproductive health care research network database through platform stakeholder mapping exercise.
Kuyafiseka futhi ukuthi kube khona ukusebenzisana uma sekufika ecwaningeni ukuthi futhi kube nalento abayibiza nge-network ukuxhumana noma ukusebenzisana njengoba sengishilo phakathi kwama stakeholders kuphinde futhi kukwazi ukuthi kubonakala ukuthi obani abasebenza kwizinto ezithinta lezo kubelethisa kanjalo nezocansi.
Yeah, during our discussion today with Her Excellence when we had breakfast, one of the biggest, we have very nice policies in government, but the problem is implementation. And one of the problems of implementation is lack of a communication strategy. There is no communication between the healthcare systems, between the practitioners, especially those in the biomedical and those in the indigenous knowledge-based healthcare system.
Ikhathi bexoxa ke namhlanje kuseni kube sekubonakala ukuthi kakhulukazi kwahulumeni ziningi lezi zinto esibiza ngama policy ezibhalwayo uma sebhaliwe inkinga ukuthi zenziwa kanjani ukuthi zisebenze kuhle bebhala amaphepha kodwa kugcine sekungenzekanga lokho okubhaliwe so bayasho ukuthi sekunesidingo ukuthi kube khona lento abayibiza nge-communication strategy ukuthi kuxoxiswana kanjani ke phakathi kwabelaphi besintu kanjalo nalabo belapha ngokwasentshonalanga.
Yeah, on the same basis of creating a communication strategy between the two healthcare systems is our aim to discuss how we can establish an accredited IKS-based sexual reproductive health journal as a tool of communication.
Okay. Okunye futhi abafisa ukuthi bekwenze ukuthi i-journal onka ama sectors ahlukile afike ebe nalenkundla lapha abafaka khona lapha benza khona ucwaningo labo okubizwa ngejournal. So into abayifisayo bafisa ukuthi kuphindwe futhi kuvulwe ijournal ke manje ezobukelela lo msebenzi esoxoxa ngawo lo wokwelapha ngesintu okuhlangene nokubelethisa kanjalo nezocansi.
Yeah, and one of the aspects we tend to be neglected in all our nice discussions, strategies, is the issue of resource mobilization. You can have all the nice programs here, but you need money. You need the right people. You need commitment. So one of the issues we need to discuss today is the issue of resource mobilization through donor mapping, through fundraising events, organization.
Singaba nazo ke izinto noma ama program esiwaqalayo kodwa konke lokho ngeke kwenzeke imali ingekho so kubalekile ukuthi kuzama ukuthi kumephe noma kubhekwe ukuthi obani abangakwazi usibesize kulomsebenzi lo office oqala.
Yeah, and finally is a question that we need a platform secretariat. People who will be running this platform. As I was talking to some colleagues yesterday, it should not be an event. There are so many events, meetings, going everything, but there is no movement. So we need a secretariat which can ensure that what we are discussing today or what will come out of the meeting today has or have a life of their own, so that it becomes a lively platform both nationally, continentally, and internationally. Thank you.
Kuyadingake ukuthi kule nkundla ibe nabo onobhala noma abantu abazoba ile ngxenye secretariat okuyibona bazobe qopha benza wonke umsebenzi ngoba asihlosile ukuthi kube ukuthi sizokhuluma nje kuphela kodwa kubalekile ukuthi iqhubeke impilo ibe khona kule nkundla esungulwayo.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Siyabonga kakhulu.
Thank you very much, Professor Kaya, Director of the DST-NRF Center in Indigenous Knowledge Systems, for giving us a background and profile of the platform that we are having today. At this point in time, I would like to request Professor Sinegugu Duma to warmly welcome our distinguished guest. Prof. Duma is the Dean of Teaching and Learning in the College of Health Sciences at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you, Prof.
Sacela ukuthi sishayele izandla sishayele uProfessor Sinegugu wakaduma. Okuyena ophethe ezemfundo noma oyidean wezemfundo ezibukelela okwezempilo okwehealth. So uyena ke ngicabanga ukuthi uzobe esesithulela Her Excellency.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, sanibona. It gives me great pleasure to warmly welcome and introduce to you our distinguished guest of honor, Her Excellency, former Executive Vice President of Uganda and current Senior Advisor to the President of Uganda on Population and Health, Dr. Speciosa Kazibwe Wandira.
Okay, sibingelele Professor Duma njengoba ngisho ukuthi uyena ozothula Her Excellency namhlanje. Ubese echaza ke ukuthi umsebenzi wakhe uyini. Uthena usacela ukumemukela njengoba kade khona kade Vice President wase Uganda. Ephinde futhi njengamanje kube uyena obizwa ngeadvisor noma lo osondelene kakhulu ohlebela ipresident yase Uganda uma sekufika kwezempilo kanjalo futhi neze population.
I would like to thank her for taking time from her busy schedule to come to South Africa to be with us in the launch of the Indigenous Knowledge Systems-based Sexual and Reproductive Healthcare Platform, an initiative of the DST-NRF Center in Indigenous Knowledge here in the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
Sithanda ukumbonga kakhulu ngokuthi uthatha isikhathi sakhe ukuthi esuke eUganda ezela eSouth Africa ezokwazi ukuthi ezovula le nkundla kanye nathi. Siyazi ukuthi isikhathi sakhe noma ischedule sakhe sigcwele kakhulu kodwa ukwazile ukuthi enze isikhathi and njengoba uProf kade sasho ukuthi ezovula le nkundla okuyona esungulwe iCenter yolwazi lendabuko lapha eUniversity yaKwaZulu-Natal.
Her Excellency Dr. Speciosa Kazibwe held the position of Executive Vice President of Uganda for a period of 9 years. She is the first woman in Africa to hold the position of the Vice President of a sovereign nation.
Okay. Her Excellency, I would like to say your name correctly. Speciosa Kazibwe Wandira. njengoba sekushilo ukuthi ade vice president wase Uganda iminyaka ewu9 yonke cishe kwaba iminyaka eyishumi ephethe lapha ephinde futhi kube ukuthi uyena umuntu wesimame wokuqala okwazile ukuthi ebambe leyo position esingayibiza ukuthi in sovereign nation noma eAfrica ukuthi ebambe inkundla ephezulu ngaleyo ndlela.
Her political career spans over 3 decades, holding various key ministerial positions within the Uganda government.
Kwezepolitiki ke ungoti ngoba kuthiwa usena ama decades amathathu so ngamanye amazi ungaphezulu kwa 30 years edlala noma esebenza endimeni yezepolitiki so lokho ephinde futhi ebe ngama minister kanjalo njengoba desisho ukuthi kade se vice president so wadlula kuyo yonke le process up until ezefike lapho.
She has served as the Deputy Minister of Industry and Technology, a Cabinet Minister of Women in Development, Culture and Youth, Minister of Gender and Community Development, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. She has also been a member of the Constitution Assembly, which drafted Uganda's new constitution in 1994.
Okay. Njengoba seshilo ukuthi useke waba uminister noma wabamba izinkundla ezinkulu ephakeme waphinde futhi ke okubalekile akuseke akenza lento ekubizwa ngeconstitution yase Uganda wayengxenye yalabo ababeyisebenza noma ababeyibhala kuze ibe khona namhlanje.
On the international scale, she has served as Special Envoy of the Secretary General of United Nations for HIV and AIDS in Africa, and is currently a member of the African Union Panel on the WISE, which is one of the critical pillars of the peace and security architecture of the African Union.
Akaphindanga nje kuphela wagcina lapha eUganda kodwa useke waseva na lapha esibiza khona ngokuthi United Nations lapho kuhlangana khona abantu bonke amazwe bekhulume izinto esiphathelene nezwe lonke so Her Excellency useke waseva futhi nakhona.
In 1998, the Food and Agriculture Organization awarded her with the Ceres Medal for her contribution to food security and poverty eradication.
Useke wathola ngisho nanendondo yokuthi uyasebenza kwezogcinene ezokudla kanjalo nanokuqinisekisa ukuthi lezi zokwelima ziqhubekela phambili.
Her Excellency has also served on national and international boards, including the Senior Women's Advisory Group on the Environment, the Uganda Women Entrepreneurs Association Limited, the Uganda Women Doctors Association, Bill and Melinda Gates Special Task Force on Agricultural Development, Coalition for Dialogue on Africa, Agri-Energy Roundtable of Uganda.
Useke waseva futhi nakulawo mabhodi uProfessor Duma kade wabalula amaningi abukelele kwezabantu abasha kanjalo futhi neze HIV and AIDS.
Her Excellency holds a Doctor of Science degree in the Global Health and Populations from the Harvard School of Public Health, a Master of Medicine, a Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery from Makerere University, Kampala in Uganda.
Uphinde futhi ebe neziqu eziningi njengoba seyibalulilwe lapha useke wafunda nale university enkulu ebizwa ngeHarvard buya nakhona waphinde futhi izifundo zakhe wayiqedelela eUganda.
Her Excellency is an advocate for empowering women in their position in Africa.
Uphinde futhi esebenze kakhulu uma sekufike ezintweni ezibukelele abantu besimame eAfrica.
In collaboration with the Organization of African Unity and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, she founded the African Women's Committee on Peace and Development, a committee of eminent African women who advise the African Union Secretary General on gender issues and women's participation in peace and development on this continent.
Her Excellency again waphinda wasungula iforum noma ngathi inkundla yabantu besimame kuze bekwazi ukuthi bexoxe abantu besimame abaphezulu hayi nje abantu besimame abaphezulu ukuthi kube yibona abazo advisor noma abazopha iluleko kulaba abaphethe umsebenzi wase-Uganda ohlangene nabantu besimame nabantu abasha. So ngamanye amazwi uya-advocate noma uyasebenzela noma uyayigijimela izinto ehlangene nabantu besimame nentsha.
Her ideology is shaped by the Pan-Africanist ideal and is based on the understanding that Africa needs African solutions for African problems.
Into ayikholwa kakhulu ukuthi eAfrika kudinga izixazululo zase-Afrika ukuze zizokwazi ukuthi isize ama-Afrika.
Your Excellency, Dr. Wandira, we are honored to have you here today in this launch of this platform on indigenous knowledge, systems-based sexual and reproductive health care. It is a platform that seeks to create a space for community-based healthcare solutions to healthcare challenges, particularly those related to sexual and reproductive health care, affecting the majority of marginalized women and children across the world. Should I continue? I think so. In Africa alone, more than 80% of the population depend on the traditional medicine for primary healthcare needs, including sexual and reproductive healthcare services. However, these community-based healthcare, primary healthcare services and their providers tend to be marginalized in the search for sustainable solutions to public healthcare services. Your Excellency, as part of the platform's stakeholders, we are also honored today that we have traditional birth attendants in our midst and traditional health practitioners who are the indigenous knowledge holders as well as providers of community-based primary health care. We commend the initiative taken by the DST NRF Center in Indigenous Knowledge Systems at the University of KwaZulu-Natal to establish this platform. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome Her Excellency, Dr. Speciosa Kazibwe Wandira, to open our deliberations.
Siyabonga kakhulu to Her Excellency ukuthi esinikeze ithuba lokuthi bekanye nathi. Cabanga ukuthi siyayibona iprotocol ekumele si-observe esazokhuluma noma esazosithulela ingxoxo yakhe namhlanje.
Probably before Your Excellency begins, we will have to do it in the traditional way. We'll have to start with a prayer.
I was also thinking of removing my shoes.
Emakhosini sizocela ke ukuthobisa amakhanda ke sicela kobaba omkhulu nakokhokho emadlozini asingena sibonge nokubalana ukuzohlangana nabe abanye odokotela ongudi bilwazi. Ngiyakhuleka ke makhosi amakhulu ngikhuleka kuzona indlondlo zohlanga ishingishana zomoya. Ngikhuleka kokhokho bokhokho ngikhuleka komkhulu nakogogo ngikhulekela amathongo ethu athe asithwala asiletha la. Khulekela onela komthi mkhulu kobhungana komakhulukhulu amashiya amahlanjwe enyamazana enziphezulu umnyama uqhana. Khulekela onke amathongo athe angena la ngaphakathi ngicela ukuhlangana sibumbane sibe monye. Khulekela konkomo ke makhosi amakhulu ngicela sibe sinye simene sethongo lihleli imhlophe ngithi bayide indlondlo zohlanga. Khuleke koshaka khuleke kosenza ngakhona ngikhuleke konke amadlozi makhosi amakhulu ngithi ngicela ukuhloka umhlophe ngicela ulwazi esizoliphiwa makhosi amakhulu bese liyasihlanganisa sibe nyeni ngithi bayide ngonyama makhosi.
Nkulunkulu baba nkulunkulu indodana nkulunkulu moya ingcwele phakama Nkosi kwalemini siyabonga baba sibonga ukulondolozwa Nkosi nguwe sibonga ukuthi wena usithandile Nkosi sazoba lapha kule nkundla esikuyo ye-IKS ngenelela ke nkulunkulu wethu omuhle kule ndawo ukuba Nkosi ube nathi kukona konke esizokwenza. Phinda uNkulunkulu wethu omuhle uzibonakalise Nkosi ubukhulu bakho, usipha amandla sisazoshela le knowledge moya ingcwele. Siyakumema Nkosi ube inkosi nomsindisi, inkosi empilweni zethu moya ingcwele. Hlangabezana nathi uNkulunkulu khona konke Nkosi esizokwenza. Usiphe amandla uNkulunkulu okumela le ndawo, uphinde uNkulunkulu wethu omuhle kubonakala Nkosi lenkundla ikhula ihamba iya phambili ngokubambisana nobunye nokuba Nkosi sibone ikufinyelela la kufanele ukuthi kufinyelele khona. uNkulunkulu wethu omuhle sesiwenzile amaphutha. uNkulunkulu wethu omuhle siyacela uxolo phambi ubuso bakho. Siyazibona izinto ziyenzeka eSouth Africa moya ingcwele. Sizothi namhlanje kule indigenous knowledge system sizothi sicela uxolo uNkulunkulu la konakele khona la sone khona. uNkulunkulu olungile usibonakalise wena Nkosi ubukhulu bakho basekhaya ezulwini, bese ulwisana nemoya yonke Nkosi evunguzayo umoya engcwele. Yenza Nkosi le IKS ibonakale Nkosi yami ichubekela phambili, imbono Nkosi ihlangane ukuze ngenilanga sithi masiphuma siyokhuluma ezweni lakho sikhulume Nkosi ngezwe londa sizelodwa sibe siconda uNkulunkulu wethu konke esisuke sikutsho. Siyamema ke simeke amathonga ethu kuma province onke sithi awahlangane amathonga eSouth Africa, sithonke amathonga wahlangane sikwazi ukuba sincobe sikhiphe nekhambi sikwazi ukuthi babo ingcwele mangabe abantu bakuphele ukuthi abantu bahlinzwe moya ingcwele ngoba ikhona imithi yokuvimba ukuhlinzwa moya ingcwele. Sipha amandla Nkosi yami ukuba singagodli, sikukhiphe ulwazi lwethu esinalo ukuze iSouth Africa ikwazi Nkosi ukusizakala. Siyabonga Nkosi ukuza kuwe Nkosi intambo emini moya ingcwele. Phakama njalo Nkosi kuthina konke sicela egameni elikhethelelo lomfowethu uJesu Kristu ngaUJesu inkosi waseNazaretha uzwe phakade. Amen.
Can I keep my shoes off? We are in indigenous knowledge. Walking barefoot is very good for your balance. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for really grounding us in Africa. You know, we have these written speeches, but I'm already getting bumps on my skin. And being in South Africa and all the issues we are going through as a young nation, I think that this was a befitting beginning to this platform. I'm a Catholic, baptized in the Catholic Church 62 years ago. And I was raised by nuns. I almost became a nun, but I've always been quite controversial because I keep asking questions. We are told that the human race started in Africa, or current knowledge says so. And we say, Katonda, the creator, in my tribe. And we have saints. And we have so many people who are brave. But when I was called Speciosa, baptized that name, my grandparents had already given me a name. They put 2 hens on the roof of my grandmother's house. And the one of my great-grandmother, who was a great famous woman, was the first to come down. That's how I was first baptized. And that name is nowhere. You don't see it anywhere because, again, because of getting the Middle East, because for them they wrote their history in those characters. We didn't write ours. People imagine that Africans were heathen, they didn't believe in God. So I was given, my mother chose a name which is close to what I was baptized traditionally, which means special. And my traditional name, Kyavita, after my great-grandmother, Kyavita means the successful one. And that's what I've strived to be, successful. And that woman, when you come to my part of the country, when she used to get up to speak, the men would just not say anything, in line with our traditions in Africa. So I come from a family of sangomas, a family of healers, both on my mother's and father's side. So basically, when I was going to be born, my mother was a nurse, but my grandmother was a traditional birth attendant, a midwife. And she told my mother, you will not be able to deliver, I can't deliver you. She had delivered her other children. And she said, either you have twins inside there, or the child you have inside will get twins. And I weighed 6 kilograms, so I'm really portable. And eventually I got twins when I started my family. So for me, I kneel down to pray when I feel the presence of God. Whether I'm with my traditional priests, whether I'm with the Muslims, whether I'm with the Christians, anybody who feels that there is a God, I kneel down and thank God for that. So I'm really happy that as we start this meeting, God is with us. Oh, you are going to, I'm sorry.
I'm going to summarize.
I forget, please summarize. Because I was given half an hour and it's a problem with summarizing. Okay, you summarize, but I can imagine everybody feels what I'm feeling.
Yeah. No, Her Excellency kade sachaza ukuthi yena njengomuntu usuka kuphi. Ukuthi inkolo yakhe ithini esho ukuthi yize engumkatolika wabhabhadiswa kodwa uphinde futhi ebe nemibuzo so uyilabo abantu ababizwa ngabantu abane controversy emasontweni ngenxa yalokho useyasho ukuthi ukukholwa kwakhe konke lapha hamba khona uyakholwa ukuthi uNkulunkulu ukhona ngisho nanoma kuthiwa uqhamuke inhlakeni zakhe noma ukholo lwakho ohlukene kodwa umwazi ukuthi uNkulunkulu ukhona uyakwazi ukuthi eguqe ethandaza useyasho ukuthi sifika la sihlele izinto esho ukuthi emoyeni wakhe unalento ebizwa ngohlamvana uvukwa ama goosebumps njengoba kade kukhulekwa ebonga ukuthi siqale ngendlela njengoba sithi sila eSouth Africa sizokwenza into yesintu ebonga lokho ukuthi ngathi konke uyathemba ukuthi kuzohamba kahle bese chaza ukuthi wagcotshwa noma wabekwa abadala basho bathi uzoba umuntu onempumelelo igama lakhe nje anikezwa lona lesintu nakho ke phela sishintshwa ke ngesikhathi lesi sokubhabhadiswa kodwa ikhona lokho kade sakubeka nje ngamafuphi.
So my sister Duma, my daughter, thank you for that introduction. Like I said, sometimes I forget that all those things have happened between when I was born and now 63 years of age. And I want to thank my brother John because I have known him for very many years. When I started my political career at the national level, but even at university, I was quite cantankerous.
Ubesebonga ke uProfessor Duma kanjalo futhi ngiyenze ngimusho ngegama ngoba umuntu omdala so useyasho ukuthi uyambonga uma zikusukela besafunda nje isikole so wilokho akubonga.
And to say Professor Kaya, thank you for this initiative and everybody who is associated with it. And I want to thank Amelia and my granddaughter here, my daughter, for really meeting me at the airport. I felt really good, and for the hospitality you've accorded me and my assistant since we arrived.
Siyabonga kakhulu kuProfessor Kaya kanjalo neCenter nabo bonke abamlekelelayo uyasho ukuthi uthena ethehla nje airport kade sebemlindile uzizwe ethokozile kanjalo futhi nendlela ephathwe ngayo ukuze kube namhlanje.
You know, I'm not going to go through the statistics because there's a lot to do in one day. And it's symbolic to me because before tomorrow, we are starting with birth, reproduction, birth. Because tomorrow we are going to talk about life for our young people and children.
kusasa njengoba kuzoqhubeka noma kuzokuqala i-conference lapho kuzobe kubuka khona ukubelethiswa sobe sikhuluma ngempilo noma kuyobe kubukwa impilo yabantu abasha noma leyo process leyo uma sekufika eqaleni noma kusungula kwempilo entsha.
So we know that many women die, especially most women who die from birth-related deaths are mainly in Africa and also the developing world. But these have become a statistic, presented in different ways and all that. But the fact is, even one death is too many, especially when you are giving birth.
Siyazi ukuthi baningi abantu besimame abalahlekelwa izimpilo zabo ngesikhathi lesokubeletha kakhulukazi eAfrica. Useyasho ukuthi ngisho nanoku ukushona komuntu oyedwa umuntu oyedwa ngaphezulu kwalo ekumele ngabe ukhona, so yikho bathi ngesingisi it's one death too many ngokushona nje kwalo umuntu oyedwa. So uthena ngekeze kulokho ingena kuma statistics ukusha ama numbers kodwa ikhona angicabanga ukuthi azobe sekhuluma ngakho.
But these issues we are discussing is because Africa, we lost our soul. Your soul is knowing who you are and therefore believing in what you can be, because you give honor to those who were there before and appreciate that for them you are who you are. And the future depends on you to make sure you carry on the good that they left with you.
Africa ngokubona kwakhe ubona sengathi silahlekelwe umphefumulo wethu njenge-Africa ngoba uma usubuka izinto eziningi ziyalahleka ngendlela kugcina futhi usukhohlakala nanendlela abantu babenza ngakhona, and uthi umsebenzi wethu ukuthi siqhubezele phambili lokho kwakade kwenziwa kanjalo futhi nalento abayibiza ngeona indlela yokwenza izinto noma indlela yokuyiphatha eyayikade khona ngaphambilini.
And one of the reasons I became a woman activist was because I believe, and everybody says so, that women are the custodians of culture and tradition.
Isizathu ke sokuthi ezebe umuntu noma ishoshovu esebenzela abantu besimame ukuthi ngoba uyakholwa yena ukuthi abantu besimame ibona abaphethe amasiko noma okuyibona abagcina amasiko.
For me, I was born with 8 boys. So gender issues were not so apparent to me because the boys did what I did. I played football, I wrestled, I climbed the trees. So my mother always told me, what you have, the boys have, until you come to a stage where God made you different.
So njengoba Her Excellency esho ukuthi yena ekukhuleni kwakhe unobhuti abawu8, so konke nje wakhuliswa komfana noma wenziswa komfana abhanzeni mawakhe ezesho ukuthi cha kuzofika lapho okuba khona nomehluko khona ekuthenini ukuthi umuntu wesifazane nomuntu wesilisa kuyini.
So my association with you professors is just to, like a good mother, a grandmother and a mother of twins, because I'm a Sangoma as a mother of twins, is to bewitch you, the professors, so that you believe in Africa. Then we shall have research across the world we will have leveled the ground. Without leveling that ground, there is no way what you are starting today will become a reality.
Inhloso ke ukuthi o professor laba ebadunga ingqondo ukuthi benze ucwaningo kuze kuzokwazi ukuthi kutholakala ukuthi kahle kahle kwenzakalani emphakathini ngoba ngaphandle kokwenza lokho angeke lenkundla iqhubekele phambili.
You know, it's when you believe in yourself, it is getting into the struggle of you being the forefront of advancing the cause of what you believe in. That is what research is all about. People say that you have to be neutral. No, researchers are the most biased people I know because I'm also a researcher.
Siyazi ukuthi mase kufika ucwaningo umuntu okuyena othola udumo ukuthi noma umwenza ucwaningo uwena osuke uthola izinto kuqala uwena osungula indlela so uyasho ukuthi ke imvamisa kuvele kuthiwa abacwaningi ilabo abantu abangakhethi icala kodwa uthena ngokwakhe uyazi ukuthi umcwaningi nje ngoba nakho nayo umcwaningi kahle kahle ubias noma uyakhetha iside noma uyakhetha lokhu akholwayo.
So the Asian is going to be biased towards the Asian traditional medicine and practices, the African the same, the European the same. And everybody will want to advance theirs. So if you are the weakest at advancing yours, nature abhors vacuum. Somebody will take your space.
So into ebalekile ayishoyo ukuthi njengoba sisho ukuthi umcwaningi kumele ukuthi akakhethi side uthi kodwa ke umuntu okwenza ucwaninga ngokwasentshonalanga uzocwaninga noma eqhubezele phambili noma ethuthukise okwabo kwasentshonalanga kanjalo futhi nokwase-Afrika manje uma nina nibuthaka ecwaningeni kuzophela nje kuzoshabalala kuzogcina kungasaveli noma kungasabonakali umthelela noma umsebenzi nawo emphakathini.
So after my sister, Dr. Nkosazana Zuma, I stood to take over the African Union, and I didn't go through. I could have gone back to stand. She was telling me, go back. I said, no, I think my calling is elsewhere. You don't have to be up there. You can be president wherever you are if you try to be the best at what you do for the common good.
Wow, useyasho ukuthi ungakwazi ukuthi akudingi ukuthi uzobe umongameli phezulu kodwa ungabe umongameli lapho khona ungasebenza ube umongameli lapho okhona usebenze uwenza umsebenzi obonakalayo lapho okhona.
My rallying call was to make sure we have Pan-Africanists everywhere, in research institutions, centers of excellence, teachers, because if we don't do that together, what we call, how many of you have read Agenda 2063? How many? Put up your hands properly. How many? Please, I want to see what is the proportion. Julian, you count and do the fraction for me. Because the Sangomas don't know that Agenda 2063 is actually rooting us back into Africa. Because it is a people's agenda. And these people are the people of Africa, irrespective of color, irrespective of gender, irrespective of sex, because for me, I don't define gender as women and men. It's what you do. Irrespective of whether you live in Durban or Algeria or Central African Republic, where I was last week.
So, Her Excellency usekade sabuza ukuthi ubani useke wafunda.
You also don't know about Agenda 2060.
No.
You see?
Khona lento ebizwa ngokuthi Agenda 2063. Uthi wona lowo obuyisela back to eAfrica noma wona obuka ukuthi iAfrica ibuyele kanjani ekuthenini ukuthi ube eAfrica. Useyasho ukuthi uma ubuka izandla ngicabanga ukuthi sibonile ukuthi bawu4 kuphela abantu kulendlu asebeke bayifunda.
Agenda 23 is about transforming Africa, making it new. And it's related to what we are talking about today. Because the renewal of that Agenda 2063 is the rebirth of Africa and changing it for the better for the people of Africa.
So le agenda ngicabanga ukuthi ngimele kutholakala indlela on how we get it and share it.
You are the .com, it's there on the website.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying we must find a way to
African Union
to share it with everyone who is here. That's yes. What I mean, Her Excellency. So she's just simply saying that. Oh, sorry. Kade sasho ukuthi agenda 2063 uzobubuka ukuthi ubuyisela kanjani izinto zase-Afrika. So kubalekile uyigcizelela lokho ukuthi kubalekile ukuthi wonke umuntu ezama ukuthi efunde ngoba uwona ozotransforma. Angisi safike sashintsha saba kakhulu kwaseNtshonalanga. Manje lo agenda 2063 ubuyela ukuthi sibuka kanjani ezintweni zase-Afrika.
I'm talking to one of the objectives of Professor Kaya where he said resources. Resources are buried in policy. It's up to you to articulate how you are going to implement that policy and the money will come to you. So I've already advised on how you can mobilize.
So manje kubonakala ukuthi njengoba uprof kade ekhuluma ngokuthi kuze lo msebenzi uqhubeke uzodinga imali noma uzodinga uxhaso useyasho ukuthi uphendula kulento ayishoyo uma usubuka ipolicy noma usubuka umthethosisekelo uma wena uphendula uthi uzolekelela kanje wabhala uzokwazi ukuthi kube imali eza kwena.
Now I would like, because all of us know why we are here, I'm not going to go through those ones that the linkages Professor Kaya has already said they must be there. I want to talk to the policy, what I think are part of the policy problematic areas that will define the work of this platform.
Uthanda ke ukuthi ebuke lokho kumthethosisekelo ukuthi ikhona kuphi ongaba yinkinga noma ikhona kuphi okudinga ukuthi kusetshenzwe kule nkundla le esikhuluma ngayo namhlanje.
The first one is the bundling of sex and reproduction and making it one and the same. Putting, thinking that sex and reproduction are one and the same thing.
Oh, inkinga iqala ekuthenini ukuthi
you put a bundle.
Okay.
And inside there you have sex and reproduction and you are marketing it for financing as if it's the same. You go to the market, people will look at it and say, what is this? Because the sex and reproduction should be two different bundles.
So inkinga iqala ekuthenini ukuthi kuhlanganiswe lokho okukhulunywa ngazo ezocansi kanjalo futhi angazi ukuthi ngizobeka kanjani ngoba i-reproduction noma ukuzalana. Yeah, ngicela ukusebenzisa lelo gama ukuthi ukuzalana ukuthi imvamisa kuvele kuhlanganiswe kubekwe njengento eyodwa kodwa inkinga ukuthi akusiyo into eyodwa leyo kumele ukuthi kuhlukaniswe kufakwe ma different noma kuhlanganiswe ngokuthi ngapha ilokhu kokuzalana kanjalo futhi ngapha ilokho ocansi kuhlukaniswe ngaleyo ndlela inkinga yokuqala leyo ayibonayo.
The second one is really always talking about women and girls as if their sexual needs and reproductive needs are the same. So those ones should also be unbundled so that research and therefore policy direction is targeting these two people who with respect to what their sexual organs and their reproductive organs look like. They are not different as a surgeon, and I could tell you graphically why. They are the same, but because of what we have to do, they look different.
Mese futhi sesibuka kulokho okunye futhi okuphinde kuhlanganiswe abantu besimame namantombazane uthi yebo kuyafana but nakho futhi kumele ukuthi masokwenza ucwaningo kuhlukaniswe ngoba abantu ababili noma izinto ezimbili ezicishe zihlukane ngendlela yakho.
And then the third one is understanding the socio-economic dynamics of the modern era. And these are the demographic issues that are related to sex and reproduction and how they enter into the socio-economics of any country and the world generally.
Mese futhi sesiphinde sibuka ukuthi kulokho esikhuluma ngakho namhlanje uma sikhuluma ngabantu ukuthi kwezabo zempilo kunjani mase kufika mhlambe esimeni sabo sezemali endaweni zabo zokuhlala nama demographics akhona ukuthi babekeke ngendawo ehlukene kanjani nanokuthi kunomthelela othini ke lokho ezweni.
And then the way we define what we want to be the outcome and the way again where we should put in a bundle we have unbundled the indigenous systems and what we call the biomedical systems. Those two, we have to look at them and really see how we can address them as a thematic area and how we can work towards integrating them, because that's what we are talking about here.
Sikwazi kanjani futhi ukuthi kucwaningo siphinde sihlukanise lokhu kwesintu kanjalo nalokho esikubiza ngebiomedicine noma ngalokho asentshonalanga, nanokuthi bazosebenzisana kanjani ke lezi inhlaka lezi ezimbili ezihlukene noma laba abantu laba noma lo cwaningo lolu olumbili ohlukene nakhona kumele sikuhlukanise lokho sikubone ukuthi kuzosetshenzwa kanjani.
And the last thematic area which you know best is really how are we to organize all these areas, and that will depend on what the research is telling us and how we organize this research, how we collaborate, how we network, so that our indigenous systems are at the same level. But in the end, they should win, because the rest of the systems are going under.
So phinde futhi kumele kubonakala ukuthi kusetshenzisana kanjani ke ukuthi kubuke lokhu besikade sikhuluma ngakho lawo ama areas lawo esikhuluma ngawo ukuthi kumele ukuthi ehlukaniswe ukuthi kuwazi ukuthi kusetshenziswe. Uyasho ukuthi ke kuze nawo ezoba endaweni efanayo njengalaba amanye indlela zokufunda noma indlela zolwazi, uthi ke okunye kungakwazi ukuthi kuwineke lokhu kwase-Afrika ngoba lokho kunye kushona phansi.
Now, I will go to just elaborate something small on each of these, putting sex and reproduction in the same bundle. Number one, sex is for pleasure. Sex is for what?
Pleasure.
You are looking at me, my dear daughter. Whatever age, sex is for pleasure. It's really wonderful because people don't talk about it. Sex is basically for pleasure. That's why you can play sex from when you are a small child, you see your children playing with their private parts, to when you grow old, even when people think that nobody, you are like Australia, it's down there, but nobody cares. So in your mind, go into the research, look for traditional indigenous knowledge that enhances the sex for everybody at every age. Then we shall be able to discuss sex in the African way.
Okokuqala nje njengoba kade esho ukuthi kumele ukuthi kuhlukaniswe, useyachaza ukuthi uma usuhlukanisa lokho ukuthi abantu balenzelana ucansi balenzela ukuthi nje bethokoze bejabulisa, kusikho ukuthi unenhloso yokuthi nizalane noma kube nomkhiqizo walokho. Useyasho ukuthi kumele ukuthi kubuyele back endleleni zase-Africa ukuthi kwenziwa kanjani noma kwakwenziwa kanjani ukuze abantu bekwazi ukuthi kube right, kuze kuzokwazi ukuthi nanoma uma bexoxa kuxoxwe izinto ezihlangene nokwe-Afrika ezibuka futhi ezocansi.
You know, my research at Harvard was about triangulating biological, sociological, and economic data for policy. And one of them was addressing the population, the demography paper, and linking it with the AIDS. And people were saying, you know, it is older people who are infecting the young girls. Then I did a validation paper on the sexuality of older people. I was really shocked because my father and stepmother were one of the subjects. And they were in their 70s and they are enjoying it because at my age, it's taboo to ask your parents about such things, but me being a mother of twins and named after his grandmother, I can talk sex with my father very freely. Have you understood? Will you translate?
Okay, kade sachaza ukuthi eHarvard wenza ucwaningo elibukela ukuthi uhlanganisa kanjani lokho esikubiza ngama demographics. So ile usho ukuthi inamba yabantu abakhona emphakathini, umthelela walokho noma lokho economic kwezemali ukuthi bami kanjani emaphaketheni abo. So kwayibuka lezo zinto lezo. Useyasho ukuthi wahamba wenza ucwaningo ngoba abaningi babethi abantu abadala abathelela izingane ngesandulela ngculaza noma ngengculaza. So umese hambe seya le ekhaya kubo useyabuza ukuthi yena ngoba uthi igama lelanikezwa lona lesintu lamnikeza igunya lokuthi ekwazi ehlale nobaba wakhe bekhulume ngezocansi yize lokho kungavumelekile kodwa yena wayekwazi usenze njalo. Uthi wathuka ke ngoba nakho babengaphezulu ko-70 years kodwa emangala ukuthi hawu nabo njengabazali bakhe basaqhubeka nokwenza ucansi.
And they were complaining that the old men and the old women, that for them they were teaching people about condoms, and nobody thought that an old man needed condoms. And the older women were saying, you see, when I was young and needed more of it, this man was not so interested. Now I'm ready for it, he's not interested. So I'm also going out with a younger person to give it to me. But we need condoms, we need to be taught about condoms. So these are issues. I'm just elaborating a bit on this because research, doctors, we don't learn about sex. No. We know the anatomy of the penis. We know how to dissect it. We know the anatomy of the vagina, the ovary, the testes, how to operate on them. But really the chemistry, the physics, all that of sex, nobody teaches us. Nobody. Nobody. And I have had to teach myself about it.
Kade sachaza ukuthi uma sekufika kulokhu esikhuluma ngakho odokotela abafundiswa kwasana nabo ngakho bafundiswa nje ukuthi umuntu wesimame nomuntu wesilisa bahluka kanjani ngalokho ngokuhluka kwabo nanokuthi bakwazi ukuthi besizakale kanjani. Useyasho ukuthi emphakathini wathola ukuthi abantu abadala nabo bathi asikaze sinikezwe noma asikaze sinikezwe amajazi ukuthi sisebenze ukuthi siwathole ngoba akekho umuntu ocabanga ukuthi abantu abadala basaqhubeka nezinto ezihlangene nezocansi.
I'm saying this because of this terrible HIV/AIDS. If we really had looked from the beginning in our indigenous knowledge on how we are educated about sex as a responsibility to the community, for us to even teach young people where to put it when they get married, we wouldn't be having all these problems. People are going to IT and whatever, and people are just too shy. So the role of the woman, the role of the man in all these sex issues, which we ignore in sexual and reproductive health. We are only going for lesbians, transgender people and all that. But the majority of people in Africa are heterosexual. I have the data. As a special envoy to the Secretary General of UN, for each country in Africa, I know those who are transgender, I know those who put it in the anus, I say those who practice anal sex, even men put it in the vagina, then they put it in the anus, even in Africa usually. But people don't want to talk about it. So, but the majority are putting it in the vagina. Now, you are here talking about sexual, the other role you are talking about. I don't know, my dear sisters, those of you who play sex, how many minutes do you have at it? 3 minutes on average. And the man, for him to transport the sperm, sex is just a vehicle for transporting human genes to their final destination or rendezvous. Yes, but the majority of the time, nobody, you don't even, now, that is what everybody is focusing on, those few minutes. If you did it, are you a virgin? No. And I can see you enjoy yourself. Please translate. You want to translate that? I want to, maybe, how many people are not getting me directly? Because the Sangomas know English. They know English.
Yes, they do. Okay. Sisacela ivote ukuthi ubani odingayo ukuthi echazelwe noma odinga osangidingayo ukuthi mina ngiqhubeke ngimela ngaphambili. Okay, kodwa ngizosummarize kakhulu ke. Into nje
And you know, when you speak, I pick many words in what you are saying because I speak Bantu language. Yes, but it came here and got confused with so many other languages. But the thing is, I was just saying, and I hope you have taken this, you researchers, there's a dire need for understanding sex in the African context. Because we are the only ones, our music is about sex. Yeah? When our men dance here, it's about saying, I'm strong enough. I can make you happy. It's otherwise the others, you see them dancing stiff even to get the rhythm. They are not really, they have forgotten the beauty of a man and a woman meeting, which I think is really the whole purpose of life. The whole purpose of what love is all about. How do you express it? As a mother of twins, I want to tell you, because that's what I'm supposed to tell you, my children. There is no better way of expressing love than through two people uniting in something they don't understand. So sex is a very, very important thing in its own right. I will go to something else. I wanted to make that very clear. In Uganda, they tell me, she talks so much about sex because I know if a man is not satisfied at home, he will go and quarrel with everybody in the office. If a woman is not happy in the home, the man does not satisfy her, the children will be in trouble. That is the source of insecurity, the source of wars. But people don't want to talk about it.
Just to summarize, ubekade gcizelela nje ukubaleka kwalokhu kade khuluma ngakho ukuthi abantu besibuyele ngokwesintu ukuthenini ukuthi ucansi belisho ukuthini kanjalo futhi uyasho ukuthi abantu abangakubalekeli ukukhuluma ngakho lokho ngoba njengamanje kuthiwa sexual reproductive health kube sengathi into eyodwa so yena kade ehlukanisa ke ube sechaza ke izinto eziningi engicabanga ukuthi nizozwa onikuzwile kodwa maningezwanga sorry.
And some of these things I'll talk about tomorrow and how we organize to enjoy that sex. And it interfaces with the reproduction. When does a woman go back to having sex? When does the man go back to reinitiate sex after a baby is born? All these are key issues. And they define whether a society is polygamous, whether there is polygyny, a man having more than one wife, and whether it is polyandrous, whether a woman sleeps with more than one man. Because sometimes you think being married, putting a ring or going to church. No, being married is that sexual union. Go to the old encyclopedia, not these social contracts which are artificial. And these are also part of the problem. So you researchers have to really get there and tell us. Being married to one man does not mean that he's not sleeping with other women. There is a reason for that. Being married to a clan, like in my home, you get married to a clan. If other men go to look for cattle, after cattle, what are you going when you need a need? You are going to put a banana? The clan is there. In fact, in mine, we even sing, Mukamuganda otwala butwale gazira nsonga, because it's for the community. It's a community good. The reproduction is for the community good. And you can see how, as the economies move, we are actually not in a position to understand what is the purpose of this, and we confuse everything. And people are divorcing for nothing. And people are really, because the man doesn't love me, sleeping with another woman doesn't mean he doesn't love you. You young girls, now I'm telling you. Now, second one, focus on women and girls. I wanted to dwell on that because in Africa, people are really not focusing on that. But the second issue is we are focusing on women and girls, ignoring the men and boys. Not only for sexual and reproduction, but also in the other biomedical areas. In the indigenous system, it was taken as a whole. The men were addressed. In my tribe, a man who is oversexed, there is medicine for that, because he can do it until he dies. He will have no time to eat. You can't feed him enough. He's disturbing you, even if he goes with other people. We have medicine for that one. And a woman who likes it too much, we even have definitions. The one who likes it, the man is called Yowemba Ngalazi. Then the woman who likes it too much is Owakasi. And we have medicine for that. Otherwise, you know, people would think the person is mentally. No, our people recognize. When you look at that medicine, you may find this man has more testosterone than the other men. And it remains high even after 30 or 40. So our people had science. When you say that this is traditional, no, it is scientific. Because when you are doing research, you just observe, then you go to dig deeper into the biology. Now, when I went back to Harvard to do my social science doctorate, I went into the politics of all these things. The politics of explosion of the population of Africa. Whom do you target? Who is the weakest? Who can't make a decision on her own? African women, we used to make these decisions about whether I want a baby or not. And now research into our traditional ways of not getting pregnant, including your man sleeping with other women, we say modern times, that has nothing to do with love. The economics of modern times is the one dictating small families, not the sharing of resources. So, what is happening to the sexual and reproductive organs of men? Who is looking into them? Who? Not much. Now, what has come on is the prostate. Everybody is talking about the prostate. No, the prostate was not a big problem because most Africans were dying young. Average life expectancy, 35, 40. Now, 60, 50. And then your research has shown that this prostatic gland, if you empty it regularly, you will not get a problem. Now, where are they going to empty it? When you are making them sleep with one woman, where are they going to empty it? It is research. You people are the ones who are doing the bio research. Yes, it's like the uterus. People don't want to give birth. Then they simulate pregnancy. Then the fibroids. Same mechanism like the prostate. So all these are issues because I know that after puberty, there are certain foods and herbs which were given to men, and herbs and foods which were specific to women when they start menstruating, so that even if you don't get pregnant, the hormones which would make your uterus, I believe, go berserk are actually contained. But we just go to sleep and we listen to this Western medicine. I will not say white because we have our white brothers and sisters in the Rainbow Nation. Now, we have, that has to be a serious thematic area. Because the men, when we talk about women going into leadership, that is also another issue. But the real reason why they could feel their prowess and the need to control is through sex. Now you find them, they are old, they are in politics, they have prostatic problems, they feel demand. Now, what do you think will happen? So they go to other avenues that are grandiose and big and make them powerful. So they get women, buy a house there, but that one is really no solution to the issues. So sometimes these problems, we look at them as they are, but we don't go deep to say, what is the sex for? What are these organs for? And where do we as researchers step in? So these are the issues which, to me, having been in politics, being a biomedical doctor, and now a social scientist of population health, I triangulate all that, and I can see where we really need to some focus. Then the socio-economic dynamics of the modern era. We are preoccupied with poverty, preoccupied with urban, preoccupied with rural. A community is a community. We've not woken up from, oh, this problem came because we are black and they subjugated us. They subjugate me even as a woman, smarter than many men I sit with, but I don't accept it. We should get out of that mode. Borrowing, because the urbanization, when I stood for the AU Commission, John, I was invited to Ghana to an agricultural symposium. And I also chaired a committee. The late Kofi Annan made me chair a committee of international experts on science and technology for the agricultural development of Africa. And everybody is preoccupied with urbanization. Let's take the industries to the urban areas, forgetting, coming from a country where we are growing cotton, where we grew coffee, not for us, but to go to Manchester. I said, now, that Manchester was put near a port, because when all our cotton and coffee went, they collected people from the rural areas to come, the poor ones from the serfdoms, those who owned no land and were digging to come and industrialize. Now we are all saying, you know, let us kill the youth. Urbanization, all the roads. We start with the urban areas where you get different communities, socialized differently, coming together. They first have to clash before they settle down to really understand anything. You get the rates of rape are highest in the cities because the values of socialization are so different. So people think it is the white people here why rape. Yes, you get them from Zambia, you get them from Zimbabwe, you get them from all over, and you blame the Boer. It is a normal way of people clashing. Cultures have to clash. And the best way to get rid of your fears through testosterone is to get it to somebody, because your wife is in the rural area. Now, what do you expect these men to do? So, as policy makers, we are going to deal with all these problems of urbanization. Instead, then we say, agriculture, let's do agriculture. Then there are no roads there. There is no power there. Then they give you microcredit, $50, whatever. Then they give people in the urban areas huge monies. The socio-economic dynamics of the modern era should be part of the areas you look at as a thematic area and how it interfaces. Because in Agenda 2063, these issues are key, and we need research, objective research, to enable us move forward. We want our children to go to study in England, to study in America, to study everywhere, even when we see that people are closing in to redefine themselves. Yes. doing courses which are relevant to them, but not to us. That will affect their sexuality and their reproductive decisions. I was the vice president of the Uganda Family Planning Association, and I'm one person who never advocates for distribution of condoms, these contraceptives, because I know the answers. Even when I went to Harvard, they couldn't show me a single country where no significant, you are professors, no significant difference between the rate of reduction of unwanted pregnancies and poverty or whatever. It is really where communities are educated and where women have entered the labor force. But as reproductive health people, we are pushing for pills. We are pushing for condoms. Condoms I push because AIDS is not a joke, my dears. I have lost many people in my family, and I know what has had to come behind me. So, what are we doing? So this research should really help us to understand that. And then the implications of IT for the old, those who are in government, most of them are old. Mo Ibrahim the other day was saying, you see a 90-year-old man going for elections before President Mugabe was stopped, and to lead the people. So Mo Ibrahim was saying, leading us where? To the grave. Hey, so we need the IT. IT is a real issue. They can Photoshop things, they can make myths out of so many things, and if we don't demystify these things in good time, it's not going to be good for Africa and our Agenda 2063. So the indigenous health systems, finally, to me, having been in government and seen what developed countries are doing, what India has done, what China has done, we should not even say, what should the policy be? It should be integration now. Integration now. Because where there is a need, there is a way. Let us start. A child in the womb, you know, these days there are societies teaching women how to breastfeed. And I ask them, who teaches a dog how to breastfeed? Hey, there are things which we, as people, Pan-Africanists, researchers who want the good for everybody, to say, this you do, and this is the research we are going to do to support monitoring and evaluation. Operational research. And I can tell you the money is there. If the ministry responsible for water and environment made sure every community had water, everybody had sanitation, if the one responsible for agriculture and food security in the country made sure everybody ate, then would even reduce maternal mortality to almost, by almost 70%. Because every 10 women who get pregnant, if they are not malnourished, if they've not married somebody who is big and they are tiny, like my assistant here, you marry somebody who is tiny, certainly when I was doing medicine, there was a line. So you observe these women coming into antenatal. Anybody below that 4-point-something feet, that one goes to see the doctor. Hey, my friend, you see, you know, only one woman out of 10 needs specialized care. Otherwise, the Sangomas would have looked after her in a holistic manner. That's what we would need hospitals. That's where we need obstetricians. But now we have ministries of diseases building hotels everywhere instead of using that money to ensure holistic delivery of services at the community level, by the people, for the people, within the cultural values that they cherish. So, you know, but cancer will be there. It's part of aging. Especially if you live until, for me, I'm a candidate, yes, because I'm above 60. But I go for checkups. The Sangomas check you up. Yeah. Regularly. Why? Through the village, the community system, they notice this girl, she's getting pregnant, but the husband is not behaving. So there will be no need for people to get preeclampsia. People have been saying in America that the black Americans have a high, they are more prone to hypertension. It is the society, the ecosystem in which they live. It's not a genetic factor. No. So preeclampsia is increasing now, especially in educated women, in urban centers, because the lack of community support. Yes, just somebody picking herbs and bringing them to you, that you bathe, this will make you feel good. You know you are cared for and loved. Yes. Now young women are going to be operated on, cesarean section. It has become like a fad. But in the village, those sangomas, they will bring herbs for you. By the time you deliver, you are all relaxed. After that, they get somebody special to help you massage, bring back the muscles. So when your husband goes back, it's like no baby ever passed there. Now, it is, it is this, it's only the legs. But they don't tell you how many girls, women end up with the complications of that epidural anesthesia. So I'm going to finish, my daughter. These are things which are so close to me, and as women being the custodians of culture, our bodies are under assault for everything, because everything is focusing on us. Let us focus on the two parties. Let's focus on the communities. Let us go back to a community health system. Health in its holistic definition by the World Health Organization. And then we are going to have a healthy woman and man both really enjoying themselves. And when we are organized, the resources will come and everybody will be happy. I thank you once again for just giving me this opportunity to talk about I'm a wild woman. They used to call me a shrew. When I was asking the nuns, they would teach us, this is how you protect yourself from being raped. Then I say, how do you know? Were you ever raped? So, thank you very much.
Ukusho ukuthi okokuqala ubekade esho ukuthi uma sesibuka kakhulu kufocusa kakhulu emantombazaneni nakubantu besimame mase sekuyekelwe eceleni abantu besilisa ukuthi kungagxilwa kubona. Waphinde futhi wakhuluma ngento engihlezi ngizwa kakhulu ukuthi uma umuntu wesimame noma umuntu wesilisa ekhula uma sefika ama stages esithize uma seqala isikhathi sakhe khona imithi anikezwa yona nokudla kumele ukuthi ekudle kuze kuzokwazi ukuthi kucontrol imizwa yakhe kanjalo futhi nobantu besilisa lokho ukungenzeki kwakhona ikhona lokho osekube nomthelela ekuthenini ukuthi kube nenkinga useyagcizelela futhi ukuthi ezinye izinto esizibona ziyinkinga njengamanje izinto ebeyikwazi ukuthi ivikeleke ekuqaleni useyasho also ukuthi uma sekufika ekubeletheni kwamanje sibona abantu abaningi besikwa uma sebeyodeta kodwa ekuqaleni babekwazi ukuthi umphakathi ukulekelele ukwazi ukuthi uyitetele wena ngoba uyasho ukuthi ngisho nanemithi ekuqaleni abantu labasebene stress manje uthola ukuthi emadrobheni kakhulukazi sebene stress noma bayikho kahle ingenxa yokuthi abakwazi ukusekwa umphakathi. So awukho umphakathi osekayo usekhombisa ukubaleka ukuthi umphakathi ube khona okuthenini ukuthi useke abantu besimame abayithwele kanjalo nje nabantu besimame emphakathini kuze bekwazi ukuthi bebelethe kahle. Ngicabanga ukuthi bese ngisummarize kanjalo ke ngiyabonga.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for that very informative speech. And let me say at this moment in time, we have got Dr. Martha Lipster. She will be taking notes of these discussions as they continue. And at the end, she's going to give us a poetic ending as a way of mapping the way forward. So we hope you have captured all the important points that Her Excellency has brought forward. Thank you very much. At this point in time, we are going to take a short break, have a group photo. After the group photo, we are going to have tea break for just, I think, maybe 10 minutes. Thank you. So Dr. Chinsami, our research manager, will guide us on having the group photo, then we'll have our tea break. Thank you very much.
Cheers, smile.